This is Coffee Number 5. I'm your host, Lara. Hi guys, welcome back to Coffee Number 5. And today it's getting hot around the world, at least in this side of the world. And every time that it gets hot, I know July is coming and I'm coming to Cosmoprof and it's going to be really, really hot. And it's going to be hot because I get to see new products and the weather is super hot. So if you're ready to come to Las Vegas with me, and I hope you do, and I see you there, I wanted to introduce you who is running the show. And so it's so timely to have her here. And so we can get the deets of what's going to happen this summer at Cosmoprof, also to understand the Cosmoprof culture. And well, I have so many questions about all the events that Cosmoprof runs. So welcome, Lisa.
Nice to
And
meet you.
nice seeing you again. And Lisa, let's talk before we're gonna get into Cosmoprof. And yes, we're gonna talk about why it's no, in Las Vegas and why it's so hot, because you already answered that to me, but I'm sure a lot of people want to know that answer too. But what I love about you is that today you're doing this magnificent show, which is not easy to task to have. And you are having one in Vegas, one in Miami, and now you're going to have one in New York that we're going to be talking more about that too. But your background is in publishing first, then you went to the brand side, and now you're on event side. So I really would like to understand this transition, how it worked for you. And because I'm a true believer that everything that you learn in your life, you can reuse it. So I really want to understand, what did you learn in publishing that you can use in events, and what you learn. So tell us about it and tell us a
Sure.
little bit about your journey.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, hi to everyone listening, watching. Thank you, Lara, for this opportunity to chat in a platform like this. I think it's fabulous. So I think, let's see, I was born and raised in the Philippines. I came here at a very young age. And when I was young, when, I always loved, I have this thing that the love for books is something, and storytelling and all of these things really was rooted in my upbringing. And when I came to the States, I finished school and my first job was at Random House. I mean, to me, that was so.
And first job at Random House, that's a
Yes.
wow.
My first job at Random House, in corporate in the US, I had only been in the US for a few years at that time. So to me, that was I was very lucky, and I'm still, I still look at that opportunity, and I'm grateful for everything I've learned. I think when you talk about what are the things that I've learned for each one, Random House for me taught me the very beginning of discipline at work, the standards, the way that you have to love what you do and appreciate everything that you're doing, so you're part of these bigger purpose and not just your pair of hands. And I think as somebody who was just starting in the corporate industry, corporate world, that was a big training for me. And truly, it was that training and the love for storytelling that really resonated, and understanding a lot of the, when you start climbing the ladder, or at least you start beginning to understand the work environment, it's all of these processes and things like that. I know it sounds not sexy, but these are the trainings that I think is they're very important in order for you to do the next thing that you're going to be doing in your career. I left Random House. My timing was perfect. It was before all of the Amazon sort of things happened, and a
Hmm.
lot has happened since. I feel like I was in the gilded age of book publishing, and it was the best of times before a lot of the changes had happened. Amazon really changed the beauty of the business of books, but I was gone by that time. And then I started looking for a job for that is, when I started thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? And Clinique, I landed a job at Clinique, and it
Doing
was
what?
purely for interviewing. And I say this because back in the days, I know I say it back in the days, but it's really difficult. It's not like these days you go on LinkedIn, you see a posting and you apply. It wasn't like that before. You have to really look at listings and apply for jobs.
Yeah, of course. I remember those days. You had to
Right?
look at the newspaper.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I for some of the listeners and watchers, they might not, thanks to like, beauty products and taking care of your skin and self. Yeah, we didn't have LinkedIn. A lot of it relied on if you know someone, contacts to get you in, or an agency. And I went through an agency to interview, and that's how I landed a job. I landed a job in marketing. And at that time, one of my biggest role was, I was in global marketing. I was also responsible, kind of like now you ask. This was almost like the other training that was on the side was happening. I was pulled into helping the senior leadership team for all of the presentations, for all of the sales meetings, to create and start helping with content creation and speech writing and things like that. So that sort of, it's almost like, there's.
This, I want to give you a pat in the back on this because it's for an immigrant, it's a big deal that you landed in these big companies. It says a lot about you, but also doing communications when English is not your first language, it's a big deal. And I'm sure that you took it with a lot of responsibility, something we were talking about in the pre show. It's all about the responsibility that we have in our jobs.
Lara, thank you. I appreciate you, saying that, because I still, again, I am grateful landing that job at Random House. Somebody who I think I was 4 years into the US when I landed my first corporate job at Random House when I was a kid. To me, that was a wow. It still is. And then beauty. And to be, I think what if there are listeners that I can, impart like a knowledge or an advice I could say is that you make the role as how you want the role to be. You are hired to do a certain job, but you have the power to make it be better or whatever you want it to be and still do the functions that you've been hired to do. So,
Shows, yeah, I mean, there is a responsibility, and this not only speak a lot about you, but I think you're encouraging every person, every listener, that if you take responsibility for your job, you have the opportunity of growth.
yes, yes. It isn't just like here are the bullet points of what you're supposed to do. I mean, Lara, when at that age, and I started as a marketing manager, as a manager role at Estee Lauder at Clinique, and then I was already traveling with the leadership team through all of these sales meetings globally and domestically, because you just make it however you think it could be. And then before you knew it, that was sort of like that was the beginning of my career at Clinique. And then I took this graduate program at FIT. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is the graduate program for cosmetics and fragrance marketing and management, and it's only a very select few that gets in. They are funded and supported by the beauty industry. And each year, there's about 20 students that are in
I
the
didn't
program.
know about that program.
It is a fabulous program for people, the younger generation, the next generation of leaders listening. That program is fantastic because it is say for instance Lauder, L'Oreal, Shiseido, all of those big brands, they can recommend several students within their portfolio, but Lauder is a big portfolio, so you could have 20 vying students to get into this program of 20 students, graduate degree students, but they only pick two. Maybe they'll pick two from Lauder, maybe three from L'Oreal, two from Shiseido. So it becomes very competitive. But at the
Hmm.
same time, uh, I would recommend it to anyone who would have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, oh, that's incredible. So yeah, I need to find out a little more about that.
Yes,
I
you
mean, it's not
do.
that I'm going back to school, but
But you should probably, I think these programs, so there's 250 of us now, graduate alumni. And the
amazing.
alums, when you look at the industry leaders, they had graduated from that program. a lot of the people, Corey from ELF is a graduate of that program. Larissa Jensen, a graduate of that program. I could name so many more. I attended the WWD summit
Mm-hmm.
in Florida last year. And I think there's 7 or 8 of us graduating students. And we ended up taking a beautiful photo
That's
with the
in,
professor.
see, this is what I love about this beauty industry. But okay, so then you end up in the brands, and then how did you end up working at Cosmoprof? How was
So,
that transition?
yes. So in, oh my goodness, I can't even remember. So 20, around 2018, 27, or early 20s, late 2017, my mother was actually in the Philippines, and she was older, a lot older. She wasn't really doing that well. And I
Mm-hmm.
needed to make a very tough decision. I left. I resigned without a job. It was
That's tough. That's definitely tough.
it was something that I needed to do. You could probably really relate to this. Our culture is very much that the family ties is very, very, and I know it's not just my culture, right? But it was very much important to me, and I left. I
Sometimes
remember.
you just do what you need to do and what it feels right.
Yes, 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 yes. So I left. I came back, and then I said, okay, I need to start looking for a job. It was a moment of, oh my God, what am I going to do? Do I go back to the brand side, or do I look at something else? Because at Clinique, I started with, I started as a manager, and then I went into global marketing, and then I was responsible for the Clinique business at Macy's. We took it at that time, my God, less than 3 years, from $576 million to $603 million in less than 3 years. That is one of my proudest moments at Clinique.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so
So then you got this job at Cosmoprof, and it was
yes.
is the same position that you have now, or evolve over the
No, it
time?
evolved. When I was hired to do this job, I was hired as the head of marketing, not the lead, for sales. That it's literally for marketing. But one of the things that I've done in 2018 was look at everything, and this is where I will share this with you. And you asked me how I looked at it, and I wanted it to be put on my brand side hat. How can these platform be so important to these brands trying to enter the US market? And I could understand that because I have that sort of brand side thinking. I don't come from events, I came from the brands. So to me, the shift since 2019, Cosmoprof is not just a trade show, it is a show that is such an important part of the entire beauty ecosystem. And it is fueling innovation that the industry needs in order for it to continue to grow and create. Yeah, sorry.
I have a question for you because as you said something very interesting to me that when you took this position was about to understanding brands to come to the US market. That's one of the missions of Cosmoprof, just to get brands from one market to another market.
Yes. I think, to say it really, in the simplistic way, every single brand trying to enter the trying to enter the US market, whether it be domestic or international, how can they find distribution, find retail, that's what Cosmoprof is. The other aspect of Cosmoprof is, as a part of the entire ecosystem of beauty, it's the supply chain. We also have the supply chain within, so it's really everything you're looking under the sun in terms of beauty. You go to Cosmoprof, you'll find.
Yeah. And there is, I think, there is a very interesting part of Cosmoprof that you do really well. That how you separate. You have Cosmopack, then you have you have part of ingredients. There is a lot of different parts. Yet it's very well segmented. Depend what you're looking for. But also there is a part that normally is in the back that is for new brands, and it gives brands new opportunities.
Yes. And it's I think we were talking earlier before we started, and I love how you even said, the whole being just genuine and be doing the right thing. Honestly, I feel like Cosmoprof is that. If you do the right thing, if you lead with purpose, profits will follow, growth will follow. And that is simply what's happening. You do the right thing for the industry.
So let's talk for a second what brands or anyone who exhibit at Cosmoprof can expect. Because I feel like a lot of people that they're going, they're not having the right set of expectation. And we want people to come to an event, to sign up, to be part of an event, and to be successful. And I'm sure that's what you guys want. So they come the next year and next year. But
Yes,
I feel like there are a lot of people that I talk to that either they don't know what to expect and if they should be doing it, or if they are they're doing it with the wrong mindset,
mindset.
and then they don't come back and they said, oh, it didn't work out for me. And
Yes,
feel like many times it's not that they didn't work out for them, it's the same with platforms. That platform didn't work out for me,
yes, yeah.
and it's just you didn't use it correctly.
I think you look, we can't make everyone happy. We try. That is the platform, right? That is our goal. However, it goes back to sometimes I see exhibitors, brands coming in, not ready, not even having the right giveaways, the right, if it's they're coming from a different country, the labels are in a different country. How are you going to give a sample to a retailer and not be able to read what it is? So there's so many aspects. And then we try so hard to be able to create these programs that would really elevate these brands, whether if it's press appearances, buyers, we have buyer programs that we put in place. There are platforms that you can do a one-to-one, meaning schedule a call. But some of these brands, I think they really need to own it. Set up your profile.
And yes, and let's talk for a second for international brands, young brands. First of all, the international brands is a completely different conversation
Yes.
because you cannot get lost in translation. You need to make sure that you're ready to have a US presence. We're talking, two marketers are here, people. Forgive us, but you need to be market ready.
Yes.
And for young brands, retailers are going to want proof of concept. So it's not that you can go and say, exhibit, show a beautiful product. I don't know. I mean, you know more the story of Cosmoprof than me, but I don't know if anyone went there and wrote an incredible PO for a new brand, or if there is that
So
unicorn happen.
there are some unicorns that happen at Cosmoprof. I mean, some of the brands that are even you wouldn't expect it to be. And it does, it happens. However, I've seen so many great brands that didn't have the storytelling that they need to be. There's so many elements. There are so many elements, and would probably not enough time to do this. It's probably another section to segment to literally
Yes,
how do you get your
another
brands
time.
ready. But you do that. But Lara, there's a lot to it, what it takes.
It's a lot of work. I mean, having a brand is just not having a formulation and a beautiful package. It's
Yes,
so much more than that.
yes. And a lot of them think that like they have these all great like great products succeed. It starts with the storytelling. What is the differentiation, the whys, what makes you special, what makes it different, why should a consumer purchase you?
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about geography here.
Yes.
So you have five events now because I only was talking about the Cosmoprof that there is Hong Kong. Then you have Las Vegas, Miami, and Bologna. I was trying to do them in order, but I messed up from the
No,
beginning.
that's okay. There's India as well.
In India. So those are five. And now you're going to have a new event that
Yes.
I really want to hear about in New
Yes.
York in
Yes.
October.
Yes. Okay, so I'm a storyteller just like you. This concept's been around since after COVID. I
Hmm.
think, like all of us, and you, I'm sure, you think of, oh my goodness, what are we doing? what is, what's happening with our community, what does this all mean, and you start sort of doing self-reflection during COVID. And then you look for inspiration, and my inspiration came about Beauty New York when I went to Milan for a team meeting with my Italian colleagues. They were preparing Milano Beauty Week at that time, but they were so far ahead of the planning for us. So when they told me that, I came back to the US and then started thinking, you know what? We don't have Beauty Week in New York. We don't have something, think of Fashion Week for beauty. It doesn't exist.
I like that.
So it is being dubbed as the Fashion Week for beauty. That's what we're doing
That's
in New
so
York.
much fun.
It's exciting. It's a lot of work, but it's so honestly, it's so exciting. It's going to be in the fall. It will be October 16 is the kickoff. Again, is the kickoff to
Okay, so you guys put away a week in October and let's hang out in New York.
yes, because this is okay. So what is Beauty New York? Beauty New York, if you think of it as Fashion Week for beauty, it is that. The difference is this. When you think of fashion and versus beauty, beauty is accessible. Beauty is inclusive,
Mm-hmm.
which means when I started thinking of this, what is makes it different and the whys, unlike Fashion Week, which I love, you need to be invited to be able to go and see these brands, that ecosystem, how it works. You have to be in the
Yeah, you need to be a guest. So it's
correct.
going to happen the same in Beauty in New York. It will be by invitation only.
So the difference is this. It's not by invitation, it's for the consumers. What we're doing with this is changing the platform so that the consumers, and I will quote Steve Jobs, they are our guests, so they have to have a seat at our table.
Mm.
So everything is shifted. There's going to be a consumer show. And one of the things that makes it different, I think, is that that's just one aspect. But when you look at Beauty New York and what we're trying to do, is really how we're going to continue to elevate beauty. How do we help the industry, not just a brand, not a retailer, but the entire industry? And why New York? So New York, a little bit of a you're a
Well,
marketer.
New York is 6 hours from LA, 3 from Miami. You can get from Latin America, you can get from Europe. It's really smart.
And not only that, New York City is the birthplace of modern beauty.
Of
Helena
course.
Rubinstein, Elizabeth Arden, then followed by Estee Lauder. And as a marketer yourself, when you look at the market, the New York City market alone, and you compare it to the overall US market, in 2024, it grew faster than overall US. It grew up 5%, while the entire US market grew by 3%. So that's why we're here. That's why New York City is so important. It's also such a diverse group of
So
people.
when we're talking about beauty industry, many so who we should encourage to come to Beauty in New York, since it's not gonna be only professionals. So we're gonna our retail's gonna be there. Why brands would go to Beauty
Yes.
in New York?
Yes. So on the October 16th, there will be an industry only event. It's really simply about, it will also that night will be to kick off the event. And it will also have a portion of that programming will have the Impact Awards. We are going to be honoring either a person, an organization, or a corporation or a brand that is truly making an impact in the industry or their community. So that's part of the whole. I always go to like, how do we want to be able to inspire everyone around? And I think starting with an impact awards and having that conversation is the first place to be had, right? That we need to do. So that's on the 16th, and it's only for industry folks, retailers, press, influencers, brands, content creators. That's what the first night is with the awards. On the 17th and 18th, which is a Friday and Saturday, I cannot publicly say the location yet, but I
Okay.
will tell you later on outside of this because we're under an embargo.
Okay. And then as soon as we can share you guys the information, we'll put it in the chapter notes.
Yes, it is in a very iconic New York location. This location is the epitome of what New York is. It is the bridge between the old New York and new New York. And
Ooh.
after all, beauty is that, right? It represents hope, it represents beauty. And I'm so excited when we're able to announce this because you will understand why we picked that location. I
Wow,
can tell you it's not a good job.
I'm really looking forward to hear that.
Yes,
So, Lisa, I have one last question for you because I talk to a lot of people about Cosmoprof and I love to go to Cosmoprof. I found that there is a discovery always that I can discover new brands,
yes,
new technologies, networking. I love that part too because I get to, it's a big industry, but it's small at the same
small,
time.
small.
I have a question for you about what you expect in each event. We talk a little bit about
Sure.
New York, but
Yes,
I feel like in the United States, now it divided Cosmoprof in two parts, in
yes,
Vegas and Miami. What are the difference of those two events and
yes,
why they were separated or there was a need to
yes,
create
yes.
a different one?
So Las Vegas has been around for 25 years now. 2 years ago, we started sort of looking at what are our opportunities. So when you look at Las Vegas, there was the growth was like, it almost felt like, can we do more? Can we get more? Who's missing? And by launching Miami, it truly was meant to capture additional markets that usually we couldn't go because of purely geographically.
Hmm.
It is just easier for people from wherever region of the world they're coming from to pick and choose. So if you look at Las Vegas is tried and true. It's still very much a lot of domestic exhibitors. One thing I could say is that in terms of the exhibitors between two shows, there's not a lot of overlaps.
I know, I saw that. It was very interesting.
It's not a lot of overlap. So, but when you look at like Las Vegas, huge for the Asian market, like meaning a lot of Korean companies, even
Yeah,
Australia, Canada, huge part of Canada come to
yeah,
Las
that's
Vegas. Yes. Mexico, they come to Vegas as well. But
I
when
mean,
you
you have a little bit of every country in Vegas, but
Yes, we do. There's about 50 countries coming from Vegas, but when you look at the biggest chunk, then you can kind of separate. In Miami, it is the LATAM market that we're capturing, but the US exhibitors are still coming. The retailers are coming to both because the offerings are different. The education in terms of what we're providing, they're also different, trying to capture each of the markets that they represent. So technically, you can go to different to if you're an attendee looking for brands, for instance, or inspiration or trends, you can go to both and not have to feel like, oh, I could have picked one
and
because they're
I agree with you 100%.
yes,
So I have to ask this question before we go. And as we record this, we are in June 2025, and that's why I need to ask this question.
yes,
Is how do you feel like all these tariffs are going to be affecting the beauty industry and the exhibitions or the events coming up in July and in, well, June and in January, we still a little, things can change, but companies are being affected already
yes,
as they
yes.
need to order more inventory.
Yes. It was a little challenging in the beginning because nobody really knew. It's still sort of okay, is it paused now that it's paused? Um, the difference about our business, and you could attest to this, Lara, it's so resilient. It is, this industry is very resilient that yes, we are, there's potentially some brands that we're missing or they have, smaller representation instead of coming, in a bigger booth. But honestly, a lot of the brands, they sort of like ask us that they signed up, they're signed up, they're coming. And Miami is a little bit, it's a lot actually, it's smaller in terms of size, although the number of brands is pretty huge as well. But our selling in Miami is pretty positive as well. The demand for Miami is really high as well.
Hmm.
So I don't, I have to see how, if I had a crystal ball, it would be the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that beauty is resilient. And we're seeing this because we still have over 1,000 exhibitors at this right now. That's quite a lot of brands. It's more of the, we will see who would be attending. But I think what I want to say is that it truly is very different. In every challenge rise some opportunities. It's really how you look at the world and how you look at the puzzle and see how you could make something so difficult come up with something even more innovative, because you don't have a choice but to do so.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for being here with us and for all the insight and for sharing your amazing trajectory, because it really is.
Thank you so much. And I will see you. We should definitely connect and talk a little bit about Vegas offline. But
We
thank you
will.
to everyone.
And to you guys, I will see you next week with more Coffee Number 5.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Find everything you need at larashmoisman.com or in the episode notes right below. Don't forget to subscribe.
It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.